Hi everybody, today I am filming my June wrap-up video along with my July to-be-read list. Over the course of the month of June, I ended up reading 11 books, 10 of which were YA and then one was a biography, since I am very behind on my biography goal for the year. And that was actually my first one of the year, so now I have read 1 out of 5 that I have planned on reading. So at least I have read one. And that one was Clapton by Eric Clapton, which I ended up giving 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good, I guess. I just kind of was expecting a lot more considering that it was an autobiography. But I read that one on my Kobo, so I don't have a physical copy. There's 3 other books where I don't have a physical copy, so I will, if I can figure out how, put a picture of them right around here or here. And if I can't, then they will be linked down below. The other books that I have read that were YA, the first one was Scrap by Emory Sharplin, and that one was 3.5 out of 5 stars. And again, it was a good read. It was a debut novel, first in a series as well. And I just had some problem with the world building. It was very hard to nail down the time period in which the book was set, because a lot of the times it gave me a medieval type feel to it, considering how they traveled most of the time and just the way that they lived and the way that their way of life was described. But other times there would be something that would happen and be like, that doesn't quite fit. So hopefully within the next few books in the series, some of those issues will be cleared up. And then I also read Fall of Night by Rachel Caine, which is the 14th book in the Morganville Vampire series, and that one was 4 stars out of 5. I love that series. I'm going to be very upset whenever it ends, and it's ending soon. There's 1 book left, but this one, it was really interesting to see them kind of branch out a little bit more. You can really tell how much the characters have grown, thinking back to the first book. And I like that the series has kind of gotten progressively a little bit darker and a lot more complicated as it's gone on. It's kind of like the series has grown up with the reader. And there's a lot of geek culture references in this book as well that I really appreciated. The other book that I read on my Kobo was Dragonfly by Leigh, and that one was 2.5 out of 5 stars. It was a very quick summer read. A little bit of mystery. The girl wants to be a journalist, which I really did appreciate, her love of knowledge and all that. But the mystery that she was investigating, I just kind of figured out really early, and there just wasn't a whole lot to the book that I wasn't able to figure out very early on. So it is the first in a series as well. Hopefully, as the series goes on, there's a little bit more to it. And if not, I'll still finish the series because I need to finish series. Then the other books that I read that I actually own physical copies of, I reread the book Burned by Hopkins, and this one was 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. I loved it whenever I first picked it up. I remember actually first picking it up, and that was back in like 2006, which is why I reread it, because it's been like 7 years since I read this book. But Hopkins has this style that can be kind of intimidating whenever you first look at the book, because it seems like it's a thick book, over 500 pages, and it's all poetry inside, and you know, a lot of times poetry kind of can go over your head, but it's actually very easy to read and very quick, even though the content in it is kind of dark and twisted and kind of very involved. But it goes by really fast because sometimes there's only a couple words on each page. So I am very excited to read the sequel to this book. And I also read Of Poseidon by Anna Banks, and this one was 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the different twists of on the mythology that the author put on this book, and I really enjoyed the characters as well. So I'm really looking forward to reading the sequel of Triton very soon. Then The Lightning Thief by Riordan, and this one was 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a pretty quick read as well, and it was very enjoyable. I really liked the twist on mythology in this book as well, along with the Camp Half-Blood and the characters, and it was just a really fun read. And I will probably be reading the sequel to this one very soon. And Mind Games by Kiersten, which was 3 out of 5 stars. It was a decent book. I just kind of found myself with the back and forth. There's a lot of flashbacks that just, after a while, it got a little bit annoying, and the characters kind of got on my nerves at times, but the overall concept of the book was something that I really enjoyed, so I am hoping that the next book kind of is a lot better. Crown of Embers by Carson, which is the second book in the Girl of Fire and Thorns series, and this one was 3 stars out of 5 as well. And I was a little bit disappointed with this book because I absolutely loved the first book. The first book was 5 stars, read it so fast, absolutely loved it, and this one was kind of suffered from middle book syndrome a little bit. It was a lot more political, there was a lot more setting up for the next book, there wasn't as much character growth in it, and if I hadn't had such high expectations considering the first book, I may have enjoyed it a little bit more, but it ended up being a little bit of a disappointment. Crush by Nicole, and this is the last book in the Crash trilogy. There was Crash, Clash, and now Crush, and that is still very hard to say. This is 4 out of 5 stars. I love this series, I love the characters, and I like how realistic this book ended up being. You know, she's got her dreams, he's got his, so, you know, what are they going to do? It was a pretty quick read as well, and it's probably not a series that I would recommend for younger readers, considering that there are some pretty explicit scenes, but it was very enjoyable to read, and it's probably a series that I will be going back and rereading eventually one of these times. Then the last book that I read this month was a book that none of you have probably seen on my shelves as of yet. It's a book that I read pretty much the minute I got it. I've seen this one on a lot of people's shelves. I have seen this one positively reviewed by so many people, so I decided that even though the hype was scaring me a little bit, I was going to read it, and I was not disappointed. And that was Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. 5 out of 5 stars. This book was just adorable and fun to read. It was still a quick read, and I think what I appreciated the most about this book was that it's a book that I could recommend to pretty much anybody looking for a contemporary YA book. I don't have to think, is this appropriate for a 14, 15-year-old to read, or is this kind of too juvenile for somebody who was 25 or 30? You know, so the characters were absolutely great. I loved the main characters, I loved the side characters. There's just so much you can say about this book. It was just so much fun to read, and I can't wait until I can buy the second book and read that one as well. So those were all the books that I ended up reading in June, and then the books that I plan on reading in July. Again, I have 5 books picked out to read in the month of July. So the first one is Smoke by Ellen Hopkins. I am going to read this month. It is an ARC copy that I ended up getting from Simon & Schuster. So this book comes out, I believe, September 3rd. So I'm going to be reading it and reviewing it this month. And I am also going to read The Sea of Monsters by Riordan, the sequel to The Lightning Thief. This movie comes out very soon, so I want to read this book before I see the movie this time. I am going to be reading Twice Bitten by Chloe Neill, and this is the third book in the Chicagoland Vampires series. Taking Chances by Molly McAdams, because I really needed to read something contemporary this month. And then Icons by Margaret Stohl. Some good things about this book, and I've seen some not good things about this book. So I'm a little bit nervous about reading it, but I'm going to do it. So those are all the books that I plan on reading in July and the books that I read in June. So that's all for now, and I will see everybody next time.